Hi.
Welcome to Podro Pascal, the Pedro Pascal podcast. I'm your co-host, Rachel Leishman.
And I'm your other co-host, Catrina Dennis.
And this week, we're joined by the lovely, the perfect, the amazing Jamie Jirak from comicbook.com.
That's me. I'm all those things that you said. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. What an episode for you to come on. We're honoring the prequels best.
Mm-hmm.
We're thriving. And what a short episode too. I was like, oh, it's over already in like a surprising way.
Because last week was like the longest of the series.
Yeah.
Last week was almost a full hour. We'll just dive right in. Katrina, what did you think of this episode?
It was fun. It was cool. There were a lot of great Bo-Katan moments, and that was really the highlight for me. We had like such good Bo content. It was fun to see. I don't know. It's been really nice to see Mando go from like, I'm just moving this kid from one place to another to like, that's my boy. My boy is gonna kick your kid's ass.
He really did.
But everyone's like, oh, his character arc hasn't changed. He's done nothing different. I'm like, excuse me.
He's like, my kid is gonna fight your kid.
Seriously, I'm just like, there is a huge difference between I'm moving cargo and I'm a little league softball dad now.
He for sure would have a minivan and be a soccer mom, like hands down.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Like he would definitely pick everyone up and like drop them all off and bring waters and stuff and yeah.
Do we know is that Jon Favreau? Because he voiced that guy in Book of Boba Fett, but the credits didn't have his name in them. But like, is he getting in like the suit? I'm
someone else is in the suit.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what I thought. But I was also like, that man is shaped similarly. Like Favreau could have been in there. So I was like, and so I sat through the credits and they didn't say his name. So it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, I think he's still doing the voice. I don't know, like because Paz Vizsla was in the last episode, but then and the first episode. And I couldn't tell in either of those. Like, I was like, is this Jon Favreau? And this one, he talked a little bit more. So I was like, is it Jon Favreau? Or, like, is he still doing the voice? Or have they just decided he's not anymore? Whatever the choice is, I do love Paz Vizsla. He was a whole ass mood during this whole thing, I do love the reveal later in the episode that it is his son. I don't know if it was, like, his actual son or if it was like, no, this is like my Grogu. Like, I couldn't figure that out.
I had this debate with Tony, my boyfriend Tony, because he was like, oh man, Mandos, I didn't know they were doing it. And I was like, I'm sure that they do have sex, but aside from that,
they have sex.
like right, exactly. But I'm like, but the name of the episode is The Foundling. Is that referring to Grogu in terms of the flashback, or is that referring to this kid they're trying to save? And I feel like, so I felt like it wasn't his real son, but they were really pressing the daddy thing. So,
well, I think my counterpoint
I would love if they fucked.
I think my counterpoint to that would be that when Paz referred to Grogu, he used the word foundling, but when he referred to his son, he used the word child. So it may I haven't heard what's his name. He has like some kind of Dragnar, right? Drangar.
Is that kid's name?
He's got some kind of Game of Thrones name. I don't know. He hasn't been referred to as a foundling yet. So he might be, maybe, but like I think he's Paz's like blood.
I'm sorry. If you're telling me that Din Djarin isn't fucking, but that man is fucking.
Yeah.
He's gotta. That girl, the woman from Twilight on the planet from season 1, those two for sure had to fuck before he left. Which helmet on though, like he's naked minus the helmet. We'll dive in a second, but Jamie, what did you think overall? Like, did you enjoy this episode?
Oh yeah, I like the whole Mando, seeing them all. I like that they're all so colorful. Like they look so pretty near each other. It was a nice sight for the old eyes. But I'm such a prequel kid. And so, and I think back to like when the first season of this show started, my favorite thing about it was that it looked like the original trilogy. And I was so into that. I was like, oh, this feels like the original trilogy. So no part of me ever thought we'd get to a point where I was like, oh, this has prequel vibes and I love it all. I'm really excited. So that was, and then I mean, at my best. Are you kidding me? Like, I was into it, but I'm also really easy to please. Like, I didn't like last week. I was surprised to learn that people didn't like last week. I was like, I don't know. I'm enjoying myself. I'm easy to please.
Yeah, the last week discourse, like I didn't realize I wrote a piece and it was like number one on the site because people were like angry that I was defending that episode, and I'm like, the show. They were like, "What's he trying to be, Andor?" I was like, "No, first of all, they couldn't. Andor was started airing after this had finished filming, so like impossible. But also like it's just honoring the characters that they established. Like we were just hanging out with a character that we've known from season 1 and everyone was furious about it. I liked it.
People
I was
forgot
like,
how TV works like these days. Like, just streaming ruined TV brain.
just like doesn't work.
There's
but
a
yeah.
whole conversation about media literacy to be had, but
No,
this
sure.
is a Pedro Pascal podcast.
We can't be talking about media literacy. Please.
Regina's the one who keeps us on task. I see now.
Yeah, normally,
This is
yeah,
what-
and then
I love my dynamic with Rachel because I am always the chaotic one in the relationship, and finally, I get to be the straight man. Like, I love it
because I'm like boopa doopa 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 doo.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked the episode. I do like. I think the prequel. Why I'm like yes, prequels outside of just I'm at best is because we're on Coruscant for the second week in a row.
Yeah.
And that just instantly is like, yeah, I'm in the prequels because you spend a shit ton of time in Coruscant in the prequels.
Mhm.
I loved it. I think I like Grogu just flying around his little ship afraid of everything. I think it is so funny. And this episode in particular is just like, Din really said, you got this, buddy, go ahead. And he got shot with a paintball twice before he like figured anything out. Like, I am just obsessed with like how no one explains anything. And yet again, the voice of reason is Bo-Katan. Like, she was like, he didn't know how to do this? Why did you just put him in this? Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, I think it's just a really fun dynamic that they're building between like Bo and Din and Grogu, and how it weirdly reminds me. I watched Dungeons and Dragons last week. And it reminds me of a dynamic in Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, is this the new trend that we're gonna have like 2 friends and a kid and they're all hanging out together? I liked it. All right. So just to dive in for those who are listening but haven't watched the episode, I don't know why you're listening. The episode starts with all of the Mandalorians, as Jamie said, in their various colors, all training the Foundlings, sort of. That's what I don't fully get, because there were adults fighting with each other and they were training, but then there were kids that they were training, and I was like, shouldn't you do this on 2 separate beach locations? You got the whole
Chaos.
beach.
Like, they're not separated from each other. There's nothing keeping it. They could all fly into each other. There's just no organization here.
This is the same beach that like Jurassic Park dinosaur attacked
The
them
alligator.
on.
Yeah, the alligator that spun around.
Like, they didn't move. And
it happened again, and now they're coming from the sky. We had a literal Jurassic World moment in this episode.
Yeah, the raptor just came down and like was like, I'm gonna take this kid, bye. And the greatest is like Paz Vizsla says like, it happened again. So like, we've all just decided this is worth it. We're not moving. It's fine.
Those little babies were cute though.
Yeah, I did love the weird ass babies.
Yeah, I did. I'm glad that they're there.
Brought them back, and we're like, we're gonna train them as foundlings. I was like, how are you training a dinosaur?
I want them to wear helmets. I want like giant raptor helmets. I feel like they're gonna ride them.
Yes,
yeah,
I feel like
sure. Grogu has got to ride one of those.
Yeah,
I hope it's Bo, Din, and Grogu. just
like, How to Train Your Foundling coming into Disney Plus.
Yes. It's really cute because in the middle of this chaos, Grogu is just like hanging out with some crabs. He's just like, what up, Dad? I found these rocks. I thought he was trying to practice using the Force.
That's what I thought too.
And was like, and then they moved, and then I realized it was a crab. So I was like, oh, what version of Grogu is this? I'm training with the Force, or I'm trying to eat you or I'm trying to hug you, because there's only 3 versions of this creature,
Yeah.
and that's all. He has no other mode, because I do miss Babu Frick. Just
That was beautiful.
no bad baby. But yeah, he's just like hanging out, minding his goddamn business. And then Din Djarin is like, hey buddy, what if you, like, here he is, look, he's just like, I'm just sitting, no one bothering me. And then
sitting there.
he's like, hey dad, what's up? I'm gonna get a hug. And then Din puts him in a goddamn fight, like just in the middle of training. And like Paz Vizsla's the only one with sense. He was like, he doesn't have a helmet. He didn't have anything.
Like, I'm gonna, like, this poor kid is like faced with making a better decision than the adults around him. But I love it because it's just like, it's the Star Wars version of, like, I don't know, a dad picking up his kid and like throwing them into the lake and going like, okay, swim.
Yeah. But don't do that in this lake, because the fucking giraffe monster is gonna emerge. Nessie is gonna come out and eat you if you throw him into this water. Which, on the one hand, it made sense. I think Ash Krasan tweeted it, but it made no sense that they were still there. But I was like, on the one hand, I guess I get it, because they're like, well, no one's gonna come here trying to get us, because who wants to fight
giant
off
monsters?
But no human or humanoid creature is gonna come and get us, because you gotta fight a fucking T-Rex to get through. And they're like, you know what? You guys can just stay. Have fun. Whoever survives, survives. It's cool. Like, what's in that cave? Did you go the whole depths of the cave? Like, what if fucking cocaine bears in the back of the cave? Like, I don't understand.
See, that's the thing. Like, I'm flashing back to The Last of Us, where it's just like, you know, Riley had scoped out that entire mall, except for that one corner of it where that one guy was, and it's like, I don't know, man. This place they've chosen Space Australia, and it's not working out for them.
Space Australia.
I will say, Catrina did say it, and they're still on our image caddy because Ashley has not deleted them. So here's my favorite image from The Last of Us. I am proud of the Children of the Watch for switching their little blaster things into paintballs, instead of just like shooting these children with like legit
and you know what?
rockets.
That's something they probably would do. So
Yeah. That was my thing. Is like, they are legitimately the kind of people who'd be like, you should have fucking fought back. Like,
hardcore, man.
Yeah, and Grogu would have been. Well, he has his little chainmail, so he would have been okay, but his shirt would not have been. No. Which I do love that the paint goes away. So I don't know who dry cleaned his little robe.
Maybe it's like disappearing ink.
It just goes. I think it disappeared when a fucking velociraptor flew in and took his friend. They were like, "Oh, the ink's gone. We gotta figure this shit out
before we leave to save that man's son. Somebody's got to put Grogu's robes in the wash."
What if they have to wash them with the alligator? They're like, "Can you wash these?" Like, time out. We got to do laundry. You can come eat us. You can come eat all of us in like 3 hours.
Wait, was it fixed by the time the armorer like told him to come with her to go forge
Well, here's
his
the thing. I have pictures, so I'll let you know right quick. Hold on.
Oh my god.
So this is the fight. He just got hit. Okay, so is it still on here? No, it's gone. This image is when Din and them fly off, and Grogu's like, "Bye, guys. See you later."
And then his little walk makes me laugh every time. Oh, he's just so slow. It's so funny. Oh, I could watch him walk across the whole world.
The walk, the flips. The flips I love the flips because it's like, it just reminds me of like, I throw a plushie across the room and it would just go.
My favorite thing, I tried so hard to get an image of it today, but my favorite thing the first 2 episodes was like Grogu got thrown places. And so if you just screenshot it at the right moment, he'd be like in midair, just like no reaction on his face. The best was like the one where Carl Weathers is trying to get the pilot, and his face is like just like in midair. Because it's like, I don't know if they were like, oh, well, we're gonna throw the cheaper one across the room because we're not throwing $1 million puppet across the room into an actor's hands in hopes that he catches it. But it's like, you could have at least put a little bit of CGI face on this thing because it looks hilarious. If you, it's just like no
just throwing the
emotion.
puppet. I love it. I love that. When I was young and we were growing up in the 90s, they would also just throw puppets. Like, I've seen it. I've watched the Muppet Show. I've seen Kermit just whack.
Yeah, and Kermit's little
time.
like the sticks are like but we're still on the fucking dueling. But the dueling scene I do love because every time it panned back, Grogu would just like look up and down like, what am I supposed to do? What do you
What
think
am
I'm
I
doing? And Din's like, you got this. And he's like, no, I don't. What am I doing? And so then he gets shot and he's like, well, fuck.
Oh my god.
He looks
Shot.
so defeated and sad.
Yeah. It's just
Oh.
he's like, I got my gun. And then he's like, no, I don't. He's like, I got shot. And Din really just like leaves him there. And then he turns around and he's like, do you believe this shit? I got shot twice and I still don't know what I'm supposed to do. Which is when Din's like, show them what you can do. Information that would have been pertinent at the beginning of the fight. Like, hey, no, I want you to show them what you can do. And then he's like, oh, okay.
Well, maybe he
And
wanted
then
him to just figure it out for himself, like maybe usual Jedi trick, buddy. But he gave him two opportunities to figure out that he has superpowers, and when he didn't, he nudged him along.
He's like,
Yeah.
you got it, buddy. And Grogu cheated because this was like a duel where you're supposed to shoot one, and Grogu's like, I'm gonna flip twice and shoot this guy 3 times.
I also was like, shouldn't they have been like disqualified? But no, they were like 3 in a row. He's the winner. These Mandos have no rules. I'm telling you, they claim they have all these rules.
They got one rule: don't take your fucking helmet off if you do to go
Don't
into
take
the
your helmet
depths
off.
of this water. It's
Don't
gonna
take your
kill
helmet
you.
off and don't lose. That's it. It's a horror show. I could never be a Mandalorian.
Don't take your helmet off, but you can fuck. And if you do lose, you're not a Mandalorian anymore. You suck. Bye.
Yeah.
Even though they've lost so many times, like the Children of the Watch, I will never forget that first episode. Din Djarin comes, saves everybody, and the armorer is like, "What the fuck do you want?" I'm like, "You would all be dead. The alligator would have killed you." The alligator that you're still living with. They went, I hate this cult so much. It's just, they have the dumbest fucking rules. Like, this was chaos for no reason. The armor, what do you do? Other than just making armor, do you do anything of importance? Because every time there is a battle, she goes and makes more armor. For who? They're all gone. They're all battling. Who
Seems like she's had like there's always somebody who needs something. Because
Yeah.
like she's like here's a new piece for you, Grogu. Here you go, Bo. It's like I think she just really is into fashion, and so she's going so slow, so she never has to stop.
She actually,
Yeah,
this
but it
cult
was like-
is not. It's not a religious cult. It is the start of her fashion house, but
Yeah.
nobody else knows.
Yeah. This is like Houston's like weird 2-floor like studio that he had. This is her version of that. It's just like every time she doesn't go and help anybody. She's useless, and then she's mean to every single person who helps her in any way. I was like, you're not fun. I don't understand why I didn't want it to come back so bad. I'd be like, thank fuck, I'm out. I'm piecing. I'm gonna go figure out what the gets up to. Meanwhile, she's having a fucking identity crisis. It's like no matter what, where you turn, someone's having a crisis, and the only one who seems mentally okay is Din. He's like, I did what I need to do. I'm gonna go save this kid. What up, buddy? I'm back. Give me a hug. He doesn't give a fuck.
I guess he's mellow, but like, is mentally okay? Is that the word we want to use for the man who went back to the abusive cult? Like
after almost dying 4 times.
Yeah. If I were Din and I were mentally okay, I'd be with Cobb Vanth right now.
Always
There it
saying that.
is.
I would be there.
always saying that.
Go live in my little boyfriend's settlement. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, those two should be fucking. As we now know that the Mandalorians fuck, those two should be fucking.
Yeah, gay Star Wars is my like whole thing. That's what I got right here.
Oh,
So.
beautiful. Love that.
Give me more of that,
I love
please.
them. I would love it. Well, instead, what we're getting is Din being like, boop, boop, boop. Me and Paz Vizsla. So, all right, Grogu cheats, beats Paz Vizsla's kid, and then this kid's like, man, I'm so sad. I'm gonna go walk and stare at the water, which he also shares one collective brain cell with the rest of them, because why would you go near the water for the second time? Wasn't he the one that the alligator tried to eat in the first episode?
I'm a Floridian, and you know better.
I'm about to bring it up.
You know better.
You know
You
better.
don't go near the lake.
The only people who continuously go near the lake are tourists at Disney World who have not learned from the past 3 children that have been eaten by alligators.
Just got
there.
eaten.
They're just like, go ahead, Billy, go check out the water.
I take alligators very seriously, and they should too.
Yeah, this kid almost died in the first episode, I'm 99% sure. And then he said, I beat one alligator, I can beat another. You didn't do shit, first of all, kid. You almost died and Din saved you. And then he went back to the water and a fucking raptor came and saved him. What's going to be the third thing that tries to kill this goddamn kid? Is he going to get stepped on by, like, Littlefoot?
Oh, no. The raptor and the giant crocodile will come back, and then the Tyrannosaurus will inadvertently save him by attacking the raptor and the crocodile, and they'll have a big dinosaur fight. Just like
and then the flag will fall down and it'll be like
yes, exactly.
Like the end of Jurassic Park. It's just this fucking kid. I was like, you're so stupid. Sorry, Paz. Your one collective brain cell with the armorer went to your half of it went to your son. So together you have one brain cell because your son learned nothing.
If I were Free Vizsla and I was looking up from hell, I would be so upset. I'd be like,
this is what my legacy is.
The last of my life. I mean, Sabine Wren is part of the Clan Vizsla, so at least there's somebody out there to be proud of.
She took them all. She took all the brains. She left nothing for the rest of them. I was like, my God, this fucking kid. He gets taken. Meanwhile, his other half of a brain cell that belongs to his father, maybe Jon Favreau, decides he's going to try and jetpack after a fucking dinosaur. And then they get to a location and he goes, I'm out of gas. No shit, you're out of gas. You tried to jetpack after a dinosaur. And then Bo-Katan, who has the only brain cells there, was like, I got my ship. And then got on the ship and decided to go after the dinosaur.
God,
and like,
that was so funny. It's just like, she's the only one who used and continues to use like common sense. Like, if I were Grogu, I also would turn to her in a time of peril because she's the only one who knows what's going on.
Yeah, but she's also going through her own mental breakdown during all of this. So she's being aggressively nice about how stupid they all are. Like, if I was Bo-Katan and I was dealing with 2 people, Din, you're my himbo husband and I love you to the ends of this earth, but you also followed along with him in your jetpack after a dinosaur. You guys were both like, I got this. You should know better, but you don't. It's just, she's so nice over the fact that like these 2 guys are dumb as rocks. And she's like, I'm gonna help. Okay, girl, maybe unpack your own shit. You just joined a cult because you saw a mythical beast. When she doesn't have a home anymore, so she's probably like, these dinosaurs are better than my rubble with my robot. And I had nothing else to do because I had no entertainment and just sat on a throne with a blanket.
I mean, though, in comparison to the beach where dinosaurs attack you, I would probably go back to the throne, but it's gone. So.
Just kidding.
But if it were
I would
there,
go back to my throne with my Switch. As I said before, let Bo-Katan play Disney Dreamlight Valley, just like on her throne with a blanket. Just be like cooking a crudité for Remy. But yeah, these 3 jabronis come up with a fucking plan to try and save this child, which, I'm sorry, dinosaur, you're taking so long to eat this kid because the kid's fine. So the dinosaur just captured him and was like, I'm gonna wait a minute. So they had like ample time to come up with a plan, fly back there, drop Grogu off in the armor where they were like, you stay here, you have your own identity crisis. We're gonna go save a kid in the midst of everyone else having a crisis. It'll be fine. Which gives us where we were examining whether or not Grogu still had paint on his jacket. So at some point they cleaned the child.
I guess maybe like that paint is designed to wash off. I guess.
That's what I'm
I
gonna
like the
decide. 'Cause,
invisible ink. Yeah.
it's likely they just like were lazy and forgot. You know, I like the idea of you know, or maybe it's gonna reappear like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Everyone
Oh,
else is having like critical discourse, and we're having where did the paint go discourse.
Where's the paint? And it is also just like one of those things where the armorer walks away just expecting Grogu to like boop doop doop behind her. When I'm like, you asked him to follow you, your legs are 3 times the size of his body. So you had to for sure go into whatever room you were going in and just sit there for at least an hour to walk from point A to point B and get the whole way into your little den of creation. But he does get there eventually. He follows her and they have a little lovely conversation about like she's making his armor and they're talking about it, but Grogu is also not listening because he's having like she's triggering him, but she does not know that she's triggering him, and like truly has like the saddest little face on the planet while she's just like boop-a-doop-a-doo, Mandalorian armor is important. Here's what we do. All of the Mandalorians get part of their Beskar for the Foundlings. And meanwhile, Grogu is like, I remember when I almost died in the Jedi Temple. Like, okay, this poor lady's talking. He's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, lady. But then it flashes back to when Grogu was escaping Order 66 when he was 27 years old. This is 27 year. I did the math. This is 27-year-old Grogu.
I'm surprised he didn't look a little smaller. Like he looks a little smaller, but I expected like maybe a little smaller.
Like his ears are a little tinier.
Yeah.
If you really look at it,
worn on
wrinkles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going
like
back and forth what you're doing now is making me see the differences more.
Yeah. For those just listening to this podcast, I'm just flashing back and forth between 55-year-old Grogu and 27-year-old Grogu.
How it started, how it's going.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's like, the Jedi are fighting to try and get him to safety. So we still don't know how he came to be, why he's so important, why he's the one that they're protecting. The only thing we know is that the Jedi are trying to get him to safety and like failing. For the most part, they're very bad at it. And
I would just imagine he's important because they know how rare his species are and how long they live.
Yeah.
So it's like if anyone's gonna keep this stuff going, it's gonna be the one guy who's gonna live to be 900.
Surprise though,
I
he
feel
doesn't
like
give a fuck.
Well, I mean,
surprise.
That's what you get for entrusting your life with a baby. That's its own problem. But I feel like I'm not surprised that he's the one they'd focus on.
So I guess Keller Beck, who I'm gonna show an image in a second, he's continuing the plan that they had originally set out, because the only part of the plan that we know in that first sequence is get him to the elevator. So I was like, do you have any plan past the elevator? Like, is it just get him to the elevator?
Saying, like, get him to Kelleran, and then they said get him into the elevator.
Okay.
Because there were 4 Jedi, and then 2 of them got shot down, and then the other 2 went with him, and then one of them got shut down, and then he got into the elevator, and then one of them got murdered right in front of him. He had to have a really awkward elevator ride with a corpse.
And the elevator opens to Ahmed Best. So I admittedly have not watched this show, but I didn't realize that is his character from the Jedi Temple show, which is really cool. It's a crazy pull because that means someone's going to watch this reality competition show for children. But I do love it. Love that that's what they're pulling from. For those who don't know who Ahmed Best is, he's also Jar Jar Binks. So this is like a nice like return to Star Wars in a way where he's badass. And it's like, I saw a lot of people being like, they redeemed him. He didn't need redeemed. You guys were mean as shit about Jar Jar. It's meant for children. I had fun watching Jar Jar Binks.
I love Jar Jar. Got a lot of Jar Jars on my shelf behind me.
Yeah.
But like you know, I'm glad for him because he said like he contemplated suicide and shit for how bad it was, and so like it's cool to see him get to do something cool. But yeah, a lot of people were not nice to that man. Like it's his fault. That George Lucas wrote Jar Jar Binks, you know.
Yeah, well, and it's also every time someone acts like, well, how dare Star Wars be unserious, I think about Freddie Prinze Jr. like popping off about how Star Wars is meant for kids. And it is just when a new franchise comes out and you're no longer a kid, you're like, what is this? This is stupid. Why isn't it like what I watch? It's like, well, because it's not for you anymore. It's for kids. And if you recognize that, you'll have way more fun watching Star Wars. If you're like, this is meant for children. Minus like Andor. Andor's not for children.
No, Andor is not meant for children. But that's the thing is that like constantly people are like, oh, this isn't serious enough to be Star Wars. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but outside of like the run on the Tantive 4, like the entire opening of A New Hope is hilarious. And it's about like droid comedy. Like, are we watching the same franchise here?
No, because people listen. The whole franchise is about a fucking hermit and his dog who end up with a child that they don't want, Luke Skywalker, and then he's like, "Well, who's this lady?" And then the scene in which Han Solo is like, "Everything's fine here," is like one of the funniest scenes in movie history. But people are like, be serious about what? My space drama? Luke Skywalker threw himself down in the sand and was like, "Oh," and I'm supposed to be like, "Yes, this is serious." That man is on the sands of Tatooine. How dare I laugh? Point is, I'm at best rules. This is I'm at best Stan account, and he gets to come and drive around with Grogu.
I will say, I was worried that he'd get like shot down somehow in this sequence, and I'm very glad that we see him go all the way out like the way he does. So
yeah, we could see more of him, you know.
Yeah, I do like that we don't know what happens. Like we know Grogu gets to safety, but we do not know where he is.
Yeah,
in the grand.
There's so many Grogu questions. I want to know where Grogu is in the sequels. You know, like there's so much Grogu time to explore. And
I have a theory at least about where Mando is, but I don't know about Grogu.
Mando would be like 60.
He'd be 60. Okay, here's the thing. Mando could be 60 living on a farm like he should be, having like a nice easy life. But if you have ever been to Batu at Galaxy's Edge, there is an incredibly similar helmet and like long gun there that are hanging on the wall, like very, 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 very similar. And so from day one, when I like Mando premiered and I went to Batu the next week and like I saw that on the wall and I was like, whose is that? And they were like, we don't know. Doc Honda just brought it in someday. We don't know whose it is. And I'm like, it better not be my man.
Like, he did.
Maybe he just gives up the helmet finally and he escapes his cult and he gets to show his pretty pretty face.
I hope so. That would be
Brown Eyes himself is just like boopy doop doop doop. I'm over here now. Galaxy's Edge. I went to Galaxy's Edge a couple times, but when I went with like my whole family, I wanted the Princess Leia raincoats that they have when it rains.
Oh, I love those.
And I made the mistake of asking an employee, and they were like, "Oh, we were made blah blah blah." And I finally like walked up to one. I was like, "Listen, I know you're gonna make a response that you are in character. I'm asking you genuinely, can I buy that?" And the girl's like, "No, they're not for sale, but they also don't protect the rain at all. They're like very flimsy." I was like, "Thank you so much, goodbye." Like I was like, I understand the bit, but I want that raincoat. Like, can you just tell me if I can buy the raincoat and then I'll leave you alone? Back from Batu though. So we're on Coruscant. Grogu's with Caloran. Caloran kills like 15 clones by himself. And then he gets to a ship that is prepared so that they can get Grogu where Grogu needs to go. And so the last we see of them is kind of them hyper speeding, hyperdrive, whatever. They're flying away, but we don't know if they've made it.
Here. Yeah, I want to point out here a very important thing. The guards that Caloran meets up with are specifically from Naboo, like which I love. Like I know at that time, Padme probably didn't know or wasn't part of whatever was going on. But those guards are
No, she's
specifically
on
from Naboo.
Mustafar.
She's either on or headed to Mustafar at that time because it's during Order 66. So Anakin's at the temple at that time.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh thinking about Master Annie.
That's happening. I was like, while Kelleran is flying out, George Lucas's son is getting shot on a platform. Bail Organa's rolling up looking like a whole leather daddy. Like all of that is happening at once.
Obi-Wan's on a ship like this. He's just like,
oh boy. Padme's across like the promenade crying. Like
also Yoda's with Chewbacca or with the Wookiees, but shit.
There's a lot of stuff happening at that time. We have seen a lot of Order 66. But yes, these guards are royal guards from Naboo. So Kelleran's connection, I think, is really cool because he says they're friends of mine, and Jar Jar Binks is from Naboo. So I thought that was a really nice way to like weave that together narratively.
I hope him and Jar Jar are friends.
I hope him and Jar Jar are best friends.
Besties. And so like the way he comes back to is he's like, oh shit, blasters are starting to sound like the Beskar getting molded. And he comes back to, and the armorer is still fucking talking about armor. And he's just like, I've been through it in the last 2 minutes that you've been doing this. And this woman is making this child a chest plate. First of all, he is this big. And she's making him a chest plate the size of a regular dude.
It's also the one part of his body that's already protected. Like, give him somewhere else.
Yeah.
It also looked like one of her shoulder things. Like, it looked like how they have the shoulders with the signets on it, but she just was like, here you go, and put it on his chest. I was like...
I think, well, she says, oh, you're going to grow into it, but I'm like, that's so much. Like, I don't know. I've always been bewildered by like
Flav.
Oh my god. Grogu's gonna grow up and have a dating show.
Flavor of love. Oh, sorry, you were saying until I realized you look like Flavor Flav.
No, you were doing the recap. I don't do those.
So he has this like dinner plate on his chest now with the mudhorn, which I did love. It was the mudhorn. She was like, that's your dad. But it is truly like you could eat a whole ass burger and fries on this plate that she gave a baby. And I'm just like, his whole head's exposed. So if anyone blasted him, and the part they would blast him because it's the highest up, because who's gonna aim at the ground like that and hit his chest? He's 2 feet tall. Nate barely. He might be like 1.5 feet. She gives him this armor, and he's like, hell yeah. He didn't even know how to shoot a thing until 2 minutes ago, but now he has a whole chest armor. Because there was a whole conversation earlier that we didn't talk about where it was like, he doesn't have a helmet because he cannot say the words. So like their idea is like, even though he's 55, he can't speak yet. So he's like, I don't got a helmet on. What would the helmet even look like?
It's gotta have ear holes, right? Like,
yeah,
it's got to.
I mean,
or it'd be shaped around his ears.
Yeah, we've seen alterations of helmets before, like with Twi'lek pilots and stuff. How like they have, Hera's what was it, Y-wing helmet? I want to say it was a Y-wing that she was flying in that particular sequence. She has flown a B-wing though. But it's very front-wise, it's very like standard Rebel helmet, but in the back it just like kind of cuts so that their Leku can like go outward. So I think if it ever gets forged, we're gonna see like a loop maybe, where his.
Well, I mean, we're also given a lot of credit to this armorer's ability when again she made him a dinner plate.
She's gonna make him a helmet and then give him some tape. Like, here, put this around your head for your ears.
Yeah. There you go. Tape him in.
Just get a wig cap on and just put it right in there.
Just tape him down so then everything's fine. Yeah. Armorer. And then that's pretty much his deal until Din comes back and all that. Meanwhile, though, this is all happening. And they're all still fighting a fucking dinosaur. So, like, we're having a beautiful moment. Grogu's like, oh my god, my past. She's like, here's your armor. And then it's like, okay, we're off to get Paz Vizsla's kid. And they're like on a dinosaur quest. The tonal shifts in this episode are great. I love it, but it's nutty in a way that I'm like, I truly and honestly could not break down exactly what happened with the dinosaurs other than they get the kid.
Yeah, I found myself, there was a moment where I was like, towards the end, I was like, Tony said something, and I go, oh, I missed that. Oh, I'm supposed to talk about this on a podcast tomorrow. I don't know. I saw Coruscant and I kind of blacked out. Like, that last bit, I was like, okay, they saved the kid and now they have some pet dinosaurs. I don't know.
It's funny. They like bring along a bunch of extra Mandos, and I think like Star Trek has like tuned my mind to think like, oh, those are fodder. Like we're gonna see some people die now. And then, like, none of them, they all come back. They're all fine. There are no, like, red shirts in this episode.
I did really like the moment where they all, like, separated to eat so they could take off their helmets, but Bo got to, like, this fancy fire spot. I enjoyed that moment.
Yeah, I did like that conversation where she was like, so how do you guys do this? And it's like, you go find a private little spot and eat your food. Which I'm like, Din, where do you eat on that tiny ass ship you have now? Like, where's Grogu going so that you can eat? Where do you do anything in that tiny ass ship?
Grogu has to go into his pod so that
like close his eyes. Around. Here's a blindfold. Like I love that ship because I love seeing the Naboo ship, but it's like that man traded a house for a Volkswagen Beetle. Like
yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, if that it's a smart car.
Yeah,
there's no
that house for like a beat up old Miata.
Yeah, like where's his bathroom? Where's anything? He just sleep. I'm like, how do you do anything? Like there's nothing. It's just a ship. I need Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to come on the show so I can be like, where's he going to the bathroom? That's the questions I have about Star Wars. Like I straight up looked up the floor plans of the Millennium Falcon because I wanted to know where like the bathrooms were.
Nobody's using Star Wars.
That's where I want to know. But so they fight a dinosaur and they win. There's Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum. They win the fight, bring home 3 dinosaurs with them. They get off the plane. They get off the plane and Din and Bo are like boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. And Din like just does not care about anything other than being like, I'm gonna go say hi to my kid real quick. What up? There's my son. And all of these people who did nothing, I didn't see any of them helping, are just kind of like, hey guys, we did it. You didn't do shit. It was Grogu's face is killing me. He's like, hello? I've been through some shit while you were gone. I thought about my past. I have trauma. I cried a little bit. I got a plate. But then, if you thought the religious trauma was over, here comes Bo-Katan. And she's standing there talking to the armorer, and the armorer's like, you're missing a piece of your armor. Come with me. And so then they go into the same fucking trauma den, and Bo-Katan's standing there. She sees the fucking mythosaur on the wall, and is like, the armorer asks her about her signet. That she could just add in the night owl. And she's like, can I have a night owl and a mythosaur? And she was like, the armorer was like, well, the mythosaur belongs to all of us. So yeah, sure. And then I'm like, girl, go talk to somebody and don't talk to the armorer because she's not going to help anyone work through their problems.
She just makes armor.
Don't talk to her.
That's not what she's licensed for. I will point out how easy it is for me to ship characters in gay ways on Star Wars. Like, the armorer gives her the lightest shoulder touch ever, and I'm like, oh, they're gay.
I did the exact same thing. I literally did the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, these two. And then Tony's just like rolling his eyes because like if there are 2 women, I'm going to ship them. I had the exact same response.
That's all I needed. That's all I needed.
Enemies to lovers because those 2 fucking hated each other like 3 episodes prior to this.
It's lame that she didn't believe her though, because it's like you believe that these waters are magic. You have all these things, but you're not going to believe that she saw the mythosaur. I think that's kind of lame.
Yeah, I do like that the armorer just goes, you'll see some crazy things. What do you mean?
Sure, sweetie.
Okay, honey. Okay, go to bed now. You have your armor, then just go to bed. You're fine.
Yeah.
You'll
fine.
see some crazy things. It's okay. It's like, girl, she's telling you she saw a fucking mythosaur. Well, I mean, it's the same shit as like the last episode when they bring the water, and Paz Vizsla's like, that could be any water, and it's like he's like, I don't believe you. You could be doing it's that mentality. But it's like, what do I got to do? Bring you to the mines and be like, what is this thing? Yet again, let's all almost die so I can show you what is in the fucking water. These people, I can't with them. But then yeah, so now they got 3 little tiny dinosaurs. Bo-Katan's still like, I don't know what my life is anymore, and Grogu has some trauma. Meanwhile, Din's there. He's just like boopity boop boop, and that's pretty much what happened on this episode of The Mandalorian.
That was like you said, it was a really short episode, and now the Mandos have 3 birds that they now have to train on their beach where there are giant alligators that can come eat those baby birds at any time. Like that's also the thing. It's just like, are you gonna stay there with like not only now human fodder, but like it's like huge birds,
Dinosaurs?
delicious dinosaur birds, where the alligator knows where you are. It just ate their parent. Like it's gonna come for dessert.
You know what? Them and their 3 brain cells can figure it out.
I hate a place. I move. That's I just leave.
Not the
You guys just
Mandalorians.
leave.
They're like, why would we leave? We have a cave and some dinosaurs that are trying to kill us, but we have a cave. Can't find that everywhere. I'm like, go to Tatooine. You know how many just caves exist?
Yeah, there are caves.
Talk to
there. Din's
Obi-Wan.
boyfriend
He's
is
found them
there.
all.
Everyone's
Obi-Wan Kenobi found like 5 different caves that he could live in. Just go find one. There'll be enough for all of you to have your own cave. Then you could take your helmet off and eat food and not have to go sit in a corner somewhere.
Yeah, have these people never heard of apartments?
No, they have not, because they're all like, we have to all stay together but not take our helmets off, and so like just pray we find somewhere with enough space that we can eat. Otherwise, we're all gonna die. All right, what is there anything we missed about these Mandalorians that you guys want to talk about?
No, I think we covered
We
it.
hit all the beats.
Oh, I do want to say one thing. I think it is funny, the Coruscant moment where like they were like really like, remember these places in Coruscant that we showed you last week? like it's not just Coruscant, because you've seen Coruscant before, but these are places you saw last week too. I thought that was
just in case you forgot, this is what they look like 20 years beforehand, but now here's what they look like now.
That big rock is still there.
It's still there. Yeah, guys, well, that was this episode of The Mandalorian, which means, oh boy, Jamie has to hear me saying, it does mean we are at our favorite time of the week. All right, here we go. Stash, 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 to stash, 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 to stash, stash, to stash. The stash on everybody's lips is gonna be Pedro's.
Whoa.
Welcome to Stash of the Week, where we pick mustaches that Podro Pascal has, or maybe doesn't have, but it's our favorite pictures that we want to talk about. And that's what we do. Catrina, you're gonna go first.
Okay.
So why don't you talk about your pick?
Empanada stash. Pedro did. We talked about. I think we talked. I don't know if we talked about this, but this is the empanada.
Yeah, because
stash.
I said I'm Jon Favreau. This was the video where I talked about Jon Favreau for like 10
That's right. Yeah, so I picked that. I still can't get over this sweater. I think it was incredible, and and Pedro had a lot of fun in that whole sequence, just like talking about like Chilean food and all the stuff he loves, and you can see like the nostalgia in his face as he just like chomps down on that empanada. So empanada stash.
Also now a famous meme on TikTok.
Yeah.
And he's eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. My stash this week is a tweet I saw when I just simply was looking up news of Podro Pascal. So, the tweet in question from a Twitter user who their name says Sammy, if that is your real name. And it says, this is officially my new favorite genre of Podro Pascal picture, where it's just people taking a picture and he just is in the background staring off in space. There was a TikTok I saw that was the same way, where it was like some girl and her friends all hanging out, and it would pan over and he'd be sitting there. And now Jamie's pick is the least surprising thing I have ever received in a text message. I was seeing Sweeney Todd, and I saw this, and I showed my roommate, and I said, "This is the least surprising pick for Jamie." So Jamie, tell the people what you picked.
Well, he didn't have a mustache, but I did pick Pedro in his one single episode of Buffy, the season 4 premiere, The Freshman, where he befriends Buffy, but then he quickly becomes a vampire. And I picked this photo because Buffy's my favorite television program of all time, and it's been coming up a lot because he's starring in 2 really big shows, and SMG is starring in the Wolfpack, so she's been having this insane press tour. So we keep circling back to this one episode that he was in, and I just like being reminded that he had to wear the vamp makeup for one single episode. I actually I don't love this episode. I don't like seeing Buffy's prom trophy get smashed, but aside from that, I really like seeing Pedro. It's fun to look back. It's fun occasionally to see people in Buffy that you're like, heck yeah. So yeah, Buffy and Angel are like my favorite. Like, I was thinking if you had to make me choose between Star Wars and Buffy, it would be probably the hardest decision of my life. And so yeah, that's why I picked it.
And now you got both. Jamie, tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, well, I'm on Twitter, and Letterboxd at Jamie Cinematics. I co-host the Phase Zero podcast every Wednesday with my work at comicbook.com. I write articles on comicbook.com. Sometimes I interview people. Next week, I'm interviewing the cast of the new Grease show. I haven't watched the screeners yet. I'm really worried because Grease is my favorite movie of all time. And people... What's going to happen is this show's going to come out, and no matter if it's good or bad, people are going to talk to me about it. So it's like, I might as well cover it for work because I'm going to get stuck with this thing anyway. And I haven't started it, but I'm nervous. I really want it to be good just because it'll make my life easier. So keep an eye out for that.
You're like, I'm really selling this show I've not watched yet. I'm hoping it's good for my sake.
Yeah, just for my own sanity. Like I truly because it's inevitable when Grease has been your favorite movie since you were 5. The people want to know your opinions.
They need to know.
Yeah.
They're like, verdict? What is it? Katrina, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me anywhere on the internet if you look for Katrina. That's OHCATRINA.
Oh no! You're done. You gotta go to sleep.
My whole brain just stopped.
You forgot how to spell your own name.
You almost put an H in there. I watched you almost put an H in your own name. And I was like, you're about to spell catheter. You're like, you're so close. Catheter.
And follow my adventures this week at PAX East with the Skybound booth. So I'll be there. If you're there, come say hi to me, and we'll talk about Pedro, and we'll talk about him loudly, and then maybe someone will cast him in a Skybound show. I don't know. That's my hope. That's the only reason I work there. So
Jesus. You can follow me at Rachel Leishman on Twitter, and I think Letterboxd, and then I'm at Rachel_Leishman on Instagram because someone hates me over there on Instagram and won't give me the not underscored version of my handle. Follow my work at the Mary Sue. Follow my work at the Mary Sue and Collider. And as always, I'll be at Star Wars Celebration. So if you're there, let us know. I'm around. You can follow the podcast at Podro Pascal. Rate, or on everything, but rate, review, subscribe, do all that jazz. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.